I'm Cheyenne Wells. I use she, her pronouns.
My name is Christopher Smith, and I do not have a pronoun preference.
My name is Luna Daisy Flowers. My pronouns are she, her.
Hi, my name is Axel, and my pronouns are he, him.
My name is Nico, and my pronouns are he, him.
So my gender identity to me personally means freedom. It means every morning I get to choose how I want to present myself to society. I think that gender identity is a cultural thing that we all learn as we grow up, and once you get to sort of break out of that and do whatever you want, it means total freedom.
I personally don't have pronouns, but I know how they are important to other people. It's not like I don't have pronouns. People will use pronouns. I just don't have any form of preference.
My gender identity to me means who I am, who I was meant to be born as. It means my personal self, my personal being, my spiritual being, not necessarily what I was born with, but what I believe I personally was supposed to be born with.
So personally, my gender identity means to me, it's a part of me. So for example, if someone like misgenders me, it's like someone who isn't me. So it's something I figured out recently, my gender identity and like my pronouns and my preferred name and everything. So it's just something that means a lot to me and that I just wish people would respect.
The way that I feel my gender identity is very personal, and I don't know how to explain it to anyone really in words, but the best way that I can describe it is that it just feels right. Like, for me, when I was growing up, I was a tomboy for most of my childhood, and I wasn't happy as that. So now I'm very happy as like an androgynous kind of feminine man, so.
My pronouns are important to me because I've taken a long time to examine my gender, and I found myself comfortable in my she, her pronouns, and I think that everybody deserves that right.
My pronouns are important to me because they identify who I am and who I would like to be identified as and who I am supposed to be called.
My pronouns are important to me because they're a part of my gender presentation, like just as much as like my clothes or my name change. And I feel like a lot of cisgender people don't really understand the importance of pronouns because they're most of the time like automatically called by the pronouns that they prefer. But like if you call a cis woman that goes by she, her pronouns by he, him pronouns, then you'll realize that they start to get very uncomfortable. So it's discomfort around being referred to by the wrong pronouns is something that I feel like anyone can experience.
My pronouns are important to me because it took me a lot to discover them. Like, it's very cliche, but I was able to discover my pronouns during the COVID pandemic. So like when I'm being inside a lot and like being alone with my thoughts made me realize that a lot of things about myself and like the way I acted when I was younger, and it just all kind of connected. So it means I discovered myself and like it's finally me. It's finally like home.
Being misgendered, for me, it feels like I get like a sinking feeling in my gut, and like I feel very anxious and unsafe in that situation, kind of.
I'm very lucky that I rarely get misgendered. I present really femme, so people assume she, her pronouns, and I think I'd like to spend most of my time fighting for those who do get misgendered a lot. And I do find myself being the person in the room who corrects people when they misgender my friends who I know their preferred pronouns, because I have the armor of looking like my preferred pronouns.
Mentally, it triggers discomfort, anger, frustration, just confusion, like a lot of confusion.
It definitely hurts when I'm misgendered. I want to give like examples. Recently, a teacher from a long time ago for my production that I had yesterday, he came up to me and he used the complete like wrong name. He doesn't know I go by a different name. This was like elementary school, but he recognized me and used the name he like knew me as before. And it was very just shocking because my friends were all around me who have known me to go by the name Axel for so long. And it was just kind of like, at first I didn't know who he was talking to because I was like, that's not me. So just again, it feels like someone's calling someone who like isn't me, like an alternate universe version of me, and it's not right. It just feels kind of, I guess the word's like embarrassing or embarrassment. It just feels like, because people know I go by that name now and people know I go by that pronoun, so when someone misgenders me or misnames me, it's like everyone's looking on me. Everyone's expecting me to say something, and then the words just don't come out because I don't know what to do. I don't want to be seen as like someone who's like too much or like gets upset easily or something like that. I just, because I'm usually someone who keeps my cool like around a lot of things. Like I'm very calm, I'm very collected, I'm playful about things. So like when something like that is put upon me, when someone misgenders me or like uses the wrong name, I feel stuck. Like I feel frozen in place, like a deer in the headlights, and I don't really know how to respond to you or how to like correct you.
What people can do to not misgender others is ask for their pronouns and ask if they have a gender preference.
I think that some people get the luxury of getting to examine their gender and some people don't because of the discrimination that they might be surrounded by and the way that they present. I've had the luxury for most of my life to be able to present in a way that people assume my gender correctly, but they don't always assume my sexuality correctly. And I am bisexual, and so when people around me assume that I'm straight and just say, oh, yeah, because you're straight, it is confusing and interesting to me in a way that I think that other people must experience way more often than I do. And so I do like to correct people so that they know maybe you shouldn't assume that next time about somebody else.
I think the best thing for people to do is just try, because I feel like sometimes people will they won't actually write it down or try to remember it. They'll just be like, oh, I'll keep that in mind. And then you see them the next day and they mess up again. And if people mess up, misgender, misname, it's not a big deal, but if you're consistently doing it and it shows that you're not putting in effort, it just hurts. So I think the best thing to do is at least act as if you're trying.
The way that people can go about learning to not misgender people, it varies from person to person. I just think it's important to just be respectful and put in as much effort as possible. And trans people aren't going to get mad at you most of the time for misgendering them. So just as long as you're putting in effort, then everything will be fine.
The advice I would give for people to try not to misgender others is just to never assume. The easiest way is to just give everybody they, them pronouns, and if they correct you, try to remember that. And if you make a mistake and you slip up and say the wrong pronouns for somebody, and you recognize that you made that mistake, correct yourself. Nobody's ever going to be upset that you corrected yourself.
Just simply ask, what is your pronoun? What do you identify as?
If you misgender someone and they correct you, just apologize for it, be as casual as possible. Just say, like, if you are talking to a trans man that goes by he, him pronouns, just say, oh, sorry, I mean he, or something like that.
I would appreciate if, especially like professors, if they have it written down, because I've noticed a lot that when you ask or you tell a teacher about like how you're going through, like you have new pronouns, you have a preferred name, they don't write it down. They just kind of go, oh, I'll keep that in mind. And then the next day when you're in class, it's like, because I'm at the bottom of roll call, so like everyone will be talking amongst each other like after the roll call, and like he'll dead name me, and it's just like, oh, you didn't even try, or you didn't even write it down, which is just very hurtful. And again, like people just asking like that question, like, oh, I've never met you before, like what are your pronouns, what name do you go by? It's just very nice, because it's like they're actually trying to see me. They're not just going up to me being like, oh, hi she, hi her, hi whatever. Just, you know, they actually try to ask beforehand, and I just would appreciate that a lot.
In the classroom, in the beginning of the class, and maybe in the middle, and at the end, you should go around the room asking for the different pronouns. As simple as that, and I don't see why anybody should get offended, because everybody has their own personal pronoun, whether they are straight, bi, lesbian, whatever, they all have their own pronouns.
I was in a class, won't give names, but I was in a class where my name on Canvas isn't changed. Well, it's changed now, but it wasn't changed before. So I was going by my dead name, but like in introductions and stuff for like the start of my online classes, I would like preface and be like, hey, I don't go by my display name, I go by this name and these pronouns and such. And I feel like that helps a lot of people, like, you know a lot. And I wanted it to help teachers as well, because I wasn't planning on putting like my dead name on papers. I was gonna put Axel as my name. So I did that, and one of my teachers actually messaged me after submitting an essay with the name Axel in the MLA format in the corner, and he accused me of stealing a student's paper, and like, because he was like, I don't know who Axel is, like, I don't know whose paper you're stealing, and it was kind of just like, no. And I said in my introduction that I go by this name, and then again, the same teacher, like during a Zoom call, he told me I had to change my name because my display name was Axel on it, because you could change it right there before you enter the Zoom call. My name was Axel on it, and he told me to go back and change it for safety reasons, because he needed to know that I was me or something like that. It just was very off-putting, and it was like, oh, I'm not comfortable with that. But then again, like when you're misgendered, or when like someone's doing that stuff to you, especially if you're like recently out, it's hard to like fight back, or hard to say like, no, like you can't do that, or refuse, because it's just, especially around a bunch of people, it's just hard, because you don't know how they're gonna respond. You don't know how students are gonna respond. You don't know if you're like being disruptive or something. It's just very difficult. One of my teachers recently actually dead named me, because he hasn't seen me for a while. I was in his class like first year of Delta, so he hasn't seen me for a while, but he knew I went by the name, but he accidentally made a mistake and, messed up. And he went back and said, oh, sorry, I don't know why I said that name. Like, I guess I got you mixed up with somebody else. I'm so sorry. And it was just like, it felt like he was like, it felt like he was making my dead name a whole different person from me, which felt nice, because it was like, oh yeah, I'm not that person, you're right. Like, it was nice to hear, and I like that.
In a classroom setting, I'd say don't call out the trans person specifically, I guess. Like, a lot of transgender people that I know get very uncomfortable when you call them out specifically and ask for their pronouns. So like, in a group setting, just ask the entire group what their pronouns are, because not only does it normalize the question, but it puts less pressure on the transgender person.
I think the best thing professors can do to respect their students' identities is to ask them up front at the beginning of class and give them a channel that they can give their pronouns and their preferred names without it being a public event. If you were to pass out a paper either in person or digitally so that people can fill out their preferred pronouns and their preferred names, which might not be the name that's reflected on the student database, then they'll feel comfortable for the rest of the class and nobody has to make a big announcement about it. Last semester, I was taking an anthropology class and my professor did pass out a page at the beginning of class on the very first day for everybody to fill out their preferred name and their preferred pronouns. And it was even beneficial to me because I noticed on the piece of paper that we did have some they, them preferred pronouns students in our classes. And I didn't know whose was whose, but it just made me check myself in that moment to say, like, I'm not gonna assume anybody's pronouns in this class, and it's okay for me to ask in this class. It's a safe space for them to express themselves.
Well, for the introductions, it was nice when Miss Broger went around the class and asked everyone their pronouns.
All right, everybody, so now we're going to transition to a quick introduction so that we get to know who's in the room. So for this, what we're going to ask for is your name. We want you to share your pronoun if you're comfortable. And then we also want you to tell us why you're taking this class and what you hope to get out of it.
My name is Ian Scott Rosano. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm taking this class to get more experience both behind the camera and in the editing room.
My name is Christopher Smith. I'm genderqueer, gender nonconforming. I have no pronoun preference. I'm taking this class because I like media, I like movies and music and whatnot. I really want to see the different ways that we can learn how to make it. I hope to become an executive producer one day.
My name is Tommy Levacy. I'm taking this class to continue on my education for photography, mainly to get my certificate for photography and to get my AA for photography. My pronouns are he, him.
My name's Leticia Elias. I'm taking this class because I want to learn more about, how editing and all of that. I don't know what pronouns are, so I don't know why we need to say that.
Yeah, that's a really great question, Leticia. So when we are talking about pronouns and just getting to know each other, it's really important that we understand that the ask is that when we hear someone ask us, share your pronoun. For example, my pronouns are she, her, and ella. And I say she, her to say that that's how I want to be referred to. And ella for me references that I'm also a Spanish speaker. So for some people that might be he, they, them, or there are other pronouns that other people use. And when we ask what people's pronouns are, we're wanting to create an inclusive environment and show that we understand that pronouns should not be assumed by a person's appearance or what we're thinking. So when we make space to ask for pronouns, we're saying that we want to create a space where everyone can be seen the way that they want to be seen. And this just signals that we are going to have a mutual room of respect and understanding for each other.
All right, that makes sense. I wouldn't want to offend anybody. So I'm Leticia Elias. I'm taking this class because I want to learn more on editing. And my pronouns are she, her.